Out there, friends of my photography. This is Rob Miracle, and I'm with Photo Dude, and we're going to take a look back at 2023 and what I felt were my best photos. And after a review with my family, we narrowed it down to these 10. So let's take a look back, starting with a photo I took in January. In this case, I went out actually chasing eagles, and it was kind of a foggy day on the river just below the Jordan Lake Dam, and this great blue heron was standing on top of this branch out in the middle of the river. To me, it seemed like an incredible shot with the fog behind it and a natural option for black and white photos. Next up, I went out with a friend to Symphony Lake here in Cary near the Regency Park Amphitheater, and caught this great white egret coming in for a landing. The water there is fairly shallow, and it just happened to flare its wings in an almost perfect reflection photo. So I was pretty pleased with the outcome of that one. Next, I caught a goldfinch sitting on top of my backyard feeder. It's a very simple photo, but with the ability of the background being a lot darker than the foreground and all the detail that was captured in this photo, it was a very strong contender for one of my best bird photos of the year. Next up was a trip to the North Carolina Zoo. Now personally, I hate shooting zebras. They're almost always grazing, their heads down. The shots are not very interesting. But in this case, he was kind of grazing toward me, and I saw the pattern in his face. And I thought this might make an interesting photo. So I zoomed in tight just to kind of get the pattern in his face, and made a high contrast black and white photo of it when I got home. And most of my family agrees this is probably the best photo of the year. It's pretty good. Not my favorite, but still pretty good. Next up was this hummingbird photo. Me and a friend were walking around Duke Gardens, and we spotted this hummingbird feeding in these flowers, and I took quite a few photos of it. It's really hard to have enough shutter speed to freeze their wings, so I have to live with a little bit of motion blur, but the rest of the bird is nice and tack sharp. Is at the peak point of action where it is capturing the hummingbird, so that's a pretty strong contender. Next was another trip to the zoo, and I got to give credit to my wife. She's the one that spotted this gorilla holding its own foot with both of its hands. So I zoomed in tight on it to try to capture as much detail and the agedness of this particular animal. And again, this earned a good high contrast black and white treatment. Quite a bit of emotion collected in that photo. This photo is one that I submitted to a contest that I'm waiting to hear back from. This was probably the most amazing photo that I took, just because of the sheer unlikeliness of it happening. First of all, finding two female belted kingfishers fighting over a tree branch is a very rare event. Second of all, to have your camera trained on it and it be in focus, and you're able to actually take the photo in the mere second that this action lasted. In fact, it was probably closer to a half a second before they started taking off and chasing each other. And as such, I've got these two squawking at each other. I had the camera pre-focused on the one on the left who was on the branch. I was just taking static photos of her. When the other one flew in, I saw the one tense up, and I knew to start firing. This shot was a trip to Sylvan Heights Bird Park. And it's a very simple portrait of a gray parrot, an African gray parrot, and just the look in its face, its expression, you just can feel the life there. This again is another great blue heron, again shot or processed in black and white. It was coming in for a landing at Lake Shelley in Raleigh. Again, very shallow body of water. And I just loved how I was able to make a very compelling photo by converting it to black and white and pushing it to low key. Low key is when most of the photo was black, as opposed to high key where most of the photo was white. The same day at Shelley Lake, I found this magnificent 8-point buck who peeked his head out from between some trees for me to capture it. You rarely find an animal like this in the wild to begin with, particularly in an inner city park. And for it to be getting into a position where the photographer can photograph it is an even more rare event. So I'm pretty happy with the outcome of this one. And that's it for my 2023 best of. My main goal for 2023 was to do more paid gigs, which I did. After we considered some of the best photos from those gigs, and along with the wildlife, it all got narrowed down to these 10 best, and it seems I'm probably a wildlife photographer, though I still think of myself as a photojournalist who wants to shoot everything under the sun. So thank you for watching this video. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful 2024. Again, this is Rob Miracle for Yo Photo Dude.